porn. Ooh, I like when you press that one.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornbluth, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk, live on the Sports Talk Media Network across South Carolina. And let me be the first to say Happy New Year to you. Little less than 6 more hours to go. It'll be 2022. We'll be glad to see 2021 in the rearview mirror. Well, in some ways we will be. Maybe in some ways we won't, but we look ahead to 2022. Looking forward to another great year with you in 22. A lot of great things ahead here on Sports Talk and the Sports Talk Media Network. And, of course, our teams around the state of South Carolina, the college teams, the high school teams, and some of the ancillary things that we keep our eyes on as well. Looking for a big year at Darlington with 2 big weekends there. Big 4-day stretch at Harbortown for the RBC Heritage coming up in April. Of course, the Masters in April, all those things in 22. We look forward to being a part of NCAA basketball tournament, men's and women's. That as well, college baseball, the Braves defending a World Series championship, all of that on the plate for 2022. Our plate here, in some cases, your cup runneth over. Here on Sports Talk, our plate overflows with great stuff. Phil Kornbluth and Pat Daniel here at our Columbia studios. Chris Bergen with us from his studio in Florence. We're watching Alabama and Cincinnati, as no doubt you probably are. Turn down the television, listen to us, and join in. It's Alabama leading 17-6, 4:54 to go in the third quarter. Not the bloodbath that I thought it would be. It might well end up being a wider spread, but certainly Alabama defensively has been too much, too strong, too athletic, too quick, too fast for Cincinnati. And on the other side of the ledger, Nick Saban told his guys, we're going to line up and run the football. We're going to run the football. We're not going to let Bryce Young or need Bryce Young to throw it 40, 45, 50 times as they've done. They are running the football, and thus far in the ball game, the Crimson Tide has rushed for 199 yards. They have 327 yards to 137 for Cincinnati at this point. So the Bama defense is what you expected. The strategy, and Chris, I was thinking about this. A team like Cincinnati, and people pointed to their performance against Georgia in the Peach Bowl last year, and they did give Georgia a great game. Georgia pulled it out at the end. But I think you can legitimately look at Georgia and say, how excited were they to be there? Go back and look, I think, at the opt-outs they had prior to that game. It was a setting that Georgia didn't prefer to be in because they wanted to be in the national playoffs. Okay, fine and dandy. Maybe Georgia wasn't at its best. So now Cincinnati's getting Alabama at its best, but they're getting Alabama also with a full month's preparation with Nick Saban directing things. My point is, a team like Cincinnati, if you draw one of these great Power 5 programs in the regular season and they have only 3-4 days to prepare for you, you got a better chance of pulling off the big upset than you do when you're facing an Alabama and Nick Saban with a month to get ready for you and a month to figure out how to beat you and a month to figure out how to execute it.
Well, I think Nick Saban has actually outthought himself a little bit, Phil. They're throwing it more than they probably should be because they have dominated the ground attack, as you astutely pointed out. Bryce Young just threw an interception a moment ago to give the ball back to Cincinnati. I have no idea watching that entire first half why Alabama just doesn't line up and run it every single play. I guess you have to keep Bryce Young engaged He is the Heisman Trophy winner. Got to keep him featured in the offense, and he had a terrific touchdown pass back in the first half. But it makes zero sense to me because it's fairly obvious on both lines of scrimmage. Alabama is considerably better, much more talented, bigger, faster, stronger, the whole 9 yards than Cincinnati is. So why not just run it down their throats?
Yeah,
I mean, they have let them off the hook. Actually, Alabama's play calling, in my mind, has kept Cincinnati in the ball game because they have been woefully outplayed, especially defensively. Desmond Ridder has been able to do nothing to move Cincinnati down the field, with the exception of 2 field goals. I think Alabama, if after that interception, if they throw it again, I'd be surprised. I really would.
Yeah, I would imagine that Saban's going to be like, hey, Bill O'Brien, let's keep the ball on the ground here. We've got it going. Robinson's having a big day. Why not put it in his hands? Robinson on 20 carries, 156 yards. He's averaging almost 8 yards a pop.
It's amazing.
Yeah, why not just ride him? He's basically been the bulk of the offense. You mentioned Young. He does have the pick. He does have 2 touchdowns, 13 of 22 for 128. Desmond Ridder, 12 of 25 for 92 yards. And Jerome Ford has 10 carries for 39 yards for Alabama. So, look, I think for Cincinnati, I think Alabama, even though the game is not out of reach yet, still only 11-point spread at 17-6. Alabama, I believe, missed a field goal as well. I've been in and out of
they did
the game because of things going on. So I think they missed a field goal, so it could have been a little bit more. But anyway, I think Saban probably feels like defense got them right where they want them. Run the dang football behind that big offensive line. They fixed some things on their offensive line since they had some struggles late in the year. I think they made an adjustment there with some personnel. Seems to be better on the right side. So I think that's what we're going to see the rest of the way here. Alabama, Cincinnati. Pat, what you got?
Just wanted to add to what you guys are saying. Remember, this is a song we've heard all season long now. Alabama fans have sounded off against new offensive coordinator Bill O'Brien all season long. And yes, he did help produce another Heisman Trophy winner from Alabama, but their offense has sputtered at times throughout the season, and it's been a bit puzzling, especially in a game like tonight when they're so overwhelmingly dominant in the trenches at the line of scrimmage, why you wouldn't just run the ball more. But remember, it was just a few weeks ago they were held scoreless by Auburn in the first half of the Iron Bowl before coming back in the second half when they actually started running the ball more. So even though Alabama has put up big numbers all year, we've heard all season complaints about Bill O'Brien and his lack of running game.
Yeah.
And Pat, to add to that, the best part of Cincinnati's defense is its secondary and especially its corners. They're projecting both of those guys to be NFL prospects. So you're actually playing, I think, into Cincinnati's hands a little bit if you try and throw it more than, as Phil pointed out, just run it right between the tackles, because both lines of scrimmage have been dominated by the Crimson Tide throughout this ballgame.
Well, we'd love to hear from you tonight. If you want to break away from your pre-New Year's Eve celebrations and join us here on the program, 888-898-2525 is our number. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number here on Sports Talk. Plenty of time to go back and talk about South Carolina's win over North Carolina. The halo effect for South Carolina football continues 24 hours after that resounding victory over North Carolina. The national pundits piling on the compliments to Shane Beamer and his program for what they did this year, winning 7 games, when if they had just listened to Sports Talk, they would have heard somebody say the Gamecocks would win 7, maybe 8, but they don't even really know what they're talking about out there, to be quite honest with you. They pay attention to teams only when it's going sour and they want to pile on the head coach or whatever. They really do. And when do those guys, the national talking heads, when do they get their most attention? When a coach is getting fired, when there's a coaching search going on, and when they're throwing the gasoline on the fire to help a coach get fired. Am I wrong about that?
No, you're not. And it's funny, you brought this up yesterday about Dennis Dodd's tweet about the mayonnaise bath and the ceiling for South Carolina football when Shane Beamer was visiting with the media at SEC Media Days. Beamer piled on him so quickly and came back so harshly, he had to delete that tweet.
Can you believe that? I have lost all respect for Dennis Dodd. I mean, I've always liked him as a writer, and I thought he was a stand-up guy, but why do you delete it? I mean, seriously, you put something out there, okay, you were wrong. Well, not if it's your opinion. I mean, if you believe in your opinion, you put it out there, you stand behind it, you take the reaction, the good and the bad, and you stand behind it. Now, if you've made a mistake, if you've made a factual error,
Right.
We've all deleted tweets of factual error. Believe me, I think I might lead the nation in deleting tweets with
I'm right
factual
behind you,
error.
pal.
But I mean, opinion, if that's what you believe, then you stand behind it. What a wimp. He was wimped
I agree.
out. I mean, that's because these guys, again, like many of the so-called local media, they want to suck up to these coaches so they can befriend them and get their inside information or with their agents, whatever the case may be. You know how the game is played. It's pretty sickening, to be honest with you, but that's the way it works. And pretty cowardly move there to delete your tweet just because the coach fired back at you. I'm
not sure.
a little bit. I was very surprised that happened.
He's not a bad writer, as you pointed out, Phil.
No.
It was just a bad take. But I don't think he anticipated the blowback from Shane Beamer to begin with. And then, of course, Gamecock fans piling on top of that. But yeah, if you're going to criticize something, and as you pointed out, that's your opinion, stick with it. But I think that the thing he missed the most, and some of the response I saw that was probably spot on, is the fact you want to make fun of the mayonnaise bath. Yeah, no doubt.
I thought it was a great publicity stunt.
But how about, yeah, exactly. But how many bowl games, the mid-tier bowl games, are we talking about 24, 48 hours afterwards? The Duke's Mayo Bowl got as much publicity from that as the game itself. South Carolina may have actually gotten more publicity from that alone than the game itself.
Well, not only that, but I mean, the Duke's Mayo Bowl people are donating $10,000 to
That's going to be our next point. Yeah,
to a charity of Beamer's choosing, and they're going to give. I haven't heard yet who the Gamecock is that's going to get the money, the $5,000 to represent them through an NIL deal. Probably to Kerryon Joyner.
I would think that'd
Why
be a
wouldn't
good
you?
choice.
He'd be a great selection. He's good with the media, speaks well, he's got a great image, and he'll be staying on with the Gamecocks for another year at least, I think. So why not? But yeah, that was pretty interesting how all that went down. So here on the program, if you'd like to join us, 888-898-2525. We're going to be monitoring the Alabama-Cincinnati game here as it plays its way out. Looking ahead to Georgia, Michigan. We'll talk more about that. And we'll go back into some of the audio interviews from yesterday as well as the Clemson game. We have some audio with Will Goodwin. I knew I was going to do that. Will Goodwin, the Clemson first game defensive coordinator, coordinating and calling plays for the first time for Clemson in the bowl game. Let you hear what his thoughts were after that. And we will hear from Kerryon Joyner, the MVP of the Duke's Mayo Bowl for South Carolina. And what a fantastic – I can't believe in his wildest dreams, Chris, could he have believed that he'd be quarterbacking in a bowl game and be 100% throwing the football, 9 for 9, and directing the offense with great calmness and a great feel for what they were doing out there.
As I mentioned yesterday, Phil, it's such a great story because here's a young man that could have easily left the program. And in this modern era of getting into the transfer portal because you don't get to play or you don't like the position you're playing, it's so easy to quit on one team and go try and find greener pastures elsewhere. And Kerryon never did that. He stuck with the Gamecocks, and they rewarded him and finally gave him a shot. And he went out and said, maybe you should have been playing me at quarterback a long time ago. But the effort he put forth yesterday and then after the ball game, just to see him overflowing with emotion, that was one of the cool parts of yesterday's game outside of how good Carolina looked on offense. But just to watch how much that meant to Kerryon Joyner, a kid that grew up in our state, was a fabulous player down at Fort Dorchester. Really, you can't be happier for a young man than you have to be for Kerryon Joyner for what he's gone through just to stick with the team and finally get a chance and to come through and throw out a magnificent game that's probably going to live in Gamecock lore for a long time.
Yeah, I'll just say that to me, Joyner and players like him represent what college football used to be about. Now, is he going to have an NIL deal and make some money? Probably so. And you know what? That's today's world. And if they can make their money now through those avenues, then so be it. Like it or not, like the fact that they're now true professional athletes. I mean, they've been professional athletes, but now there's no hiding behind the fact that you're Shane Beamer, you're Dabo Swinney, you're coaching professional athletes, guys who are getting paid through some way or another to play football. And but beyond that, here's a guy that came to South Carolina for the right reasons: his degree, his state university, the opportunity to play, et cetera, and has stuck with his pledge to South Carolina as they have stuck to their pledge to him. And that's what it's supposed to be about. You boil it all down. That's what it's supposed to be about. That's why I think he is going to be a success in life, because that cat has some loyalty and stick-to-itiveness. All right. Our phone number, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery. Lucky number since 2002. More than $6 billion in lottery proceeds have been used to support South Carolina's educational programs. Learn more about the South Carolina Education Lottery's impact at sceducationlottery.com/education wins. Playing for fun is a win for education. 17-6. Crimson Tide as they roll to the fourth quarter. We'll be back.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I love sports, and I've helped people for. Contact me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com when the insurance company won't pay your claim or you have complicated issues. Some other business causes your business to lose money. jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. When you lose a relative and find out you got cut out of a will or don't get what was promised. When you have serious injury, like from a wreck or mishap or on the job. jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
We've got Major Billy Downer with us here from the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Hunting season is upon us. Major Downer, how do we stay safe?
Smitty, that's a great question. Mistaken for game is a leading cause of hunting accidents each year. So this year, DNR is encouraging everyone to wear hunter orange and use a flashlight when traveling to and from your hunting location in low light. Remember, be safe, be seen.
And remember, life's better outdoors. Visit dnr.sc.gov for more.
All South Carolinians aged 5 years and older are now eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine. For help finding a vaccine location in your area, 866-365-8110. COVID-19 vaccines are free and don't require ID or insurance. Visit scdhack.gov/vaxlocator or call 1-866-365-8110 to find a vaccine location near you.
There were two other bowl games played today. You had the Gator Bowl in Jacksonville, and Wake Forest defeats Rutgers 38-10. Rutgers, the late fill-in in that game in Jacksonville.
It looked like it.
Yeah. I mean, you knew this was going to be a beatdown. I mean, Wake Forest is good to begin with. Then you throw a team in there kind of at the last minute. Sam Hartman, who, of course, played at Oceanside Collegiate, had a big day. And he threw 3 touchdown passes, 2 of them to his tight end, Brandon Chapman. And Wake Forest reaches 11 wins for the second time in program history. Hartman, 23 of 39, 304, and 21 yards rushing. So he had a great game. He was named the team's most valuable player. And then we had Central Michigan. Let's see, now Central Michigan was shifted from another bowl game, right, to fill in the Sun Bowl.
Yeah, they were going to play in that Barstool Arizona Bowl with Boise State. And when Boise State backed out, of course, with all the backlash about Barstool Sports, then Central Michigan was left without an opponent, and the MAC allowed them to get out of that game and go to El Paso, and it worked out really well for them.
But their stated reason was COVID, wasn't it?
COVID, correct.
Yeah, but
correct.
You're saying you think it was more political?
I don't know. There was a lot of, people in Idaho, newspaper articles,
Right.
opinion op-ed pieces and the like, requesting them not to participate in that. Now, whether or not that had anything to do with the COVID positives, I don't know. I mean,
Their athletic
it's easy to
director
blame.
said they were not connected, by the way.
Yeah. It's easy to blame COVID.
Yeah.
At this point in
That's
time.
the
Who's gonna
easy
argue
out
that
for
point?
everybody.
Yeah,
I was
exactly.
reading a story about UCLA. I mean, they didn't tell anybody that they were considering not playing. Apparently, they were appearing at all the functions leading up to the game. And, they use the old, for the safety of our student athletes, we don't, their rationale was, their safety concern wasn't COVID. It was that they were going to have to play some players out of position because they were thin, especially on the defensive line. They were going to have to move some players to play some positions that they don't ordinarily play. And so they were concerned about the safety of those players. like that, which, I think it's kind of a bunch of bunk. As Alabama, Eli Gold, Alabama, touchdown, Alabama, 23-6. They're going to be in the national championship again. Do we want an SEC replay in the national championship?
No. I think we've seen that, done that. I'd love to see. I think it'd be fun just from a historical standpoint, aside from the fact that we don't get Alabama, Georgia 2. It'd be interesting to watch Alabama, Michigan.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think Michigan's going to beat Georgia. I think they're going to beat Georgia. I think that Michigan's defense is good enough to stop Georgia's running game. Their defense is really good. Georgia's defense gets all the acclaim around here, but the quarterback will be the difference. I don't believe Stetson Bennett's good enough to do it. I look for Michigan to have a big day defensively, probably focusing on shutting down Georgia's running game and saying, okay, Stetson Bennett, if you can beat us. We'll cover your receivers and see what you can do. And then offensively, Michigan runs the ball extremely well. Now, that's a tall task against Georgia's great defensive front. Their defensive run game is very good as well. But I'm going to still go probably in a narrow game. I don't think this one. We might have a decent semifinal here. We don't normally have decent semifinals. Like this is going to end up being a blowout. Mm-hmm. Maybe we'll have a decent semifinal here between – the last decent one would be what? The Georgia-Alabama. Was that a semifinal game in the – who was it that Georgia beat in overtime in the Rose Bowl that was such a great game? Was that –
That was not Alabama.
That was – who was that? Maybe that was the game that got them to play Alabama?
Yes, it was.
I have the schedule right here in front of me. Which game was it you were referencing? I have it all right here in front of me.
When Georgia had to go overtime in the Rose Bowl, I think it was. They beat Oklahoma. Was it who'd they beat that year?
They beat Oklahoma in double overtime. The final score was 54-48.
Yeah.
So that was quite a
ball game. And then they
game.
played Alabama. Alabama beat Clemson in the other semifinal, and then it was Alabama-Georgia again.
And that was overtime as well. Remember, that was the whole introduction for the public to Tua Tagovailoa, was he came in for Jalen Hurts, who struggled in the first half, and then Tua, after taking a sack to start the overtime, then threw, a 45-yard bomb for a touchdown to win the game.
That was in
Devontae Smith.
That was in the national championship game.
Correct. Yep, that's right. That was to Devontae Smith as well.
Yeah.
All right.
we
got
didn't know
some
anything
callers
about it that time.
We got some callers. I like to say on a holiday, lonely people. We got some lonely people. So we can wish them a happy new year. Stan, the Tiger Man in New Ellington. Happy New Year. Welcome into Sports Talk.
Corn, Chris and Pat. I tell you what, not lonely, buddy. I'm family oriented. I'm a people person in the state of South Carolina with South Carolina State and the Tigers. And how about them Gamecocks, Corn?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, the first thing I thought last night sitting there about you, you know who else come up? Big Vern. Always talking about they never give Joyner the chance. I'm on here when I get off there. Man, look like there's something to him and might have not have been giving him the plays and the setup to do. But I'm going to tell you what, got to call and give him the props. Even though I told you before, I'm a Tiger fan. Even when I called the last time and kind of gave, Shane his props about somebody was complaining about something. I said, at least he's won 6 games. And I'm really happy for him. I got son-in-laws and grandyoung'uns and all. They pull for Carolina too, and that's good for them. But I tell you what, Corn, the young man, that first pass and what he did 9 for 9, it wasn't luck, and it looked good. Anyway, I'm excited for them.
Yeah, why not? I mean, now this is the halo effect of winning a bowl game. I mean, let me rephrase that. It's a halo effect for a new bowl winner, which South Carolina falls into that category. Hadn't won a bowl game since 2018, I think it was. Right. So that halo effect, now everything just looks better. The band sounds better. The cheerleaders are prettier. The coaches are smarter, et cetera, et cetera. The campus looks, nicer. And that's the result of winning a bowl game. That's why you say, and I get it, a lot of us, of course, we just sort of shrug off these other bowl games outside of the New Year's Day games and the playoff games as not being that important. But it certainly is important to the teams that win. The teams that lose, they're like, okay. Well, the teams that win, they got something really to build on and carry into the offseason that will help them in the next year, they do hope.
That's right. Well, even though I'm a Tiger fan, I love people, and it was a good game. I mean, look at that long throw he made to start with, and then the other quarterback coming and old Bell. I tell you what, but I love y'all, and y'all don't give no fake news. You ain't on the left, you're on the right. And Chris, Pat, and Corn, I love you, and God bless you, and I hope y'all have a very prosperous New Year. And even though bacon's up about $7-8 a pack, we got to move on, Corn, and do the best we can, right?
You got it, my man. You have a great New Year, too. Thank you so much. We'll continue after the break, 24-6, but Cincy's on the move at the Bama 23. Be right back.
It's made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast, a 30% chance of showers this evening as you celebrate New Year's Eve. The low dips to only 65. Tomorrow, a warm and breezy Saturday with a high of 79 and a mix of sun and clouds. Sunday is a total rain out with showers all day at a high of 72. No drinking and driving. Happy New Year. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
A social distancing tip.
Putting distance between yourself and others is critical to slowing the spread of coronavirus. So here are ways to stay in contact without the physical contact part. Call, send a text, set up a video conference, post on social media, dedicate a song on the radio. If you have symptoms of fever, dry cough, and shortness of breath, call your healthcare provider before going to their office. For more info, visit coronavirus.gov.
Let's all do our part because we're all #AloneTogether. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
With SRN News, I'm Jason Walker. For nearly 70 years, she was a television icon. Legendary entertainer Betty White is dead at the age of 99, and she just missed the century mark. Betty White would have been 100 on January 17th. New York City reviving its annual New Year's Eve celebration in Times Square tonight, although officials do say it will limit the number of people who are in attendance. The expected crowd far fewer than the 50,000 initially envisioned by organizers. Authorities in Colorado say there have been a few minor injuries, but thankfully no deaths reported in the wake of the wind-blown wildfires that had destroyed some 580 homes plus a hotel. Fires erupted outside of Denver following a very dry fall. This is SRN News.
I'm home. Why is it so cold in here?
I've got bad news.
What?
Our heat is out.
You're kidding me.
No, but there's a bright side. Our contractor says Dominion Energy offers rebates up to $500 if we upgrade to Energy Star qualified equipment.
That's nice, but almost sounds too good to be true.
No, I checked it out. See for yourself at DominionEnergySC.com.
Where?
DominionEnergySC.com.
Certain restrictions apply.
If you're like me, you're sick and tired of seeing these old TV stars, game show hosts, these athletes telling you how to save money on your Medicare and on your health insurance. These national toll-free numbers are overwhelming us. It's not that people don't need the service. They need good local customer service, not big box toll-free numbers. See, I work directly with Tim Hanberry right here at Medicare Blueprint in the Midlands. When it comes to my family, I want the best family plan. I'm not even on Medicare, but my mom is. So here's what I do want. Someone local to serve as my advisor on the plans and choices that I have, and someone to help mom with her Medicare. I want someone to help me pick the right plan, save me as much money as possible by knowing all the rules of the game. Medicare Blueprint starts the process with you. They will see it through. They answer all your questions. They call you back. It's the same folks helping you start to finish. Tim and his team are independent. They fight for you, not the insurance company. Online, it's MedicareBlueprint.com or call them 708-7398.
A well-regulated humidor being necessary to the preservation of a cigar, the right of the people to keep and enjoy cigars shall not be infringed. For those who love a great cigar and want to spend time with others who are like-minded, the Cigar Militia offers the experience you're looking for. We're located in the Colonial Village next to the Melting Pot. The Cigar Militia offers exceptional cigars from around the world, staff to assist you in your selections, private cigar lockers, and a lounge where members can relax and enjoy.
Is that crack in your windshield or your house bothering you?
Have you been meaning to have it replaced but just can't find the time?
Call Absolute Glass, voted Lexington's best glass shop for 12 years in a row.
We repair and replace glass on all makes and model.
We're the only local high-end auto glass specialist in the Midlands, and we'll come to you to make the process quick and easy.
With new technologies and vehicles, we can recalibrate your vehicle back to new.
Visit AbsoluteGlassInc.com to learn more about our auto, home, and business glass services. Just remember, if you can see through it, we can do it.
Keep fighting the spread. Wear your face mask. Stay 6 feet apart. And get vaccinated. Join us and fight the spread. Visit scdheck.gov/vaxfax.
Hi, this is Michelle Arnold, your host for Travel Buzz, every Monday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on 100.7 The Point. We're here to make your travel dreams a reality. That's Travel Buzz every Monday morning at 9 on The Point.
Okay, we're back on Sports Talk on this New Year's Eve. This is a live production of Sports Talk. We are here because we're dedicated to our craft. And we think people want to hear local sports talk on New Year's Eve when we've got major college football games. And, of course, let's face it, for the last 6 years, we've had a team playing in the playoffs on or around New Year's Eve. So we just do our thing. We do our thing and try to have a good time and try to keep you engaged. Alabama just got a fourth down stop. Cincinnati had driven into territory. They got a stop on fourth down. Now they're moving the ball on the ground once again, probably going to knock in another score, eat up the clock. Final score will probably be 31-6.
And Phil, if that is true, and I don't dispute that at this point in time, it'll be according to Brett McMurphy, it'll be the 11th time in the 15 games that have been played in the CFP semifinals decided by more than 17 points.
Yeah, the semifinals are. This is why I keep asking. And you want to add more?
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
Because it just means the teams, when they get to the semifinals, are just going to be beat down.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, there'll be some buys involved as well. So the best teams who don't need the extra time off will get the extra time off. The other teams are going to have to fight their way up through the bracket, be worn down, beat down by the time they get to the fresher teams. Just going to be more of the same. But, all we're doing here is just giving ESPN more television time. That's all we're doing. We're just giving them more opportunity to televise more games and make more money. But you know what? We're a society, a sports society, a college football society that can't help itself. It's like fish. You know how fish, they say they can't help but just eat. You put the food in there, they're going to eat.
True.
That's what we are. We're fish, but not me. I don't like it. I'd be happy just to go with the two teams at the end of the regular season, maybe even after the bowl season. Have a bowl season, take the two best teams from the bowl games. Yeah, there'll be some arguments, but you'll get the two best teams from the bowl games and just play one game for the national championship, But anyway, I know I'm a dinosaur with that kind of thinking, but it's the right kind of thinking. It's not thinking that is driven by making money for ESPN or the politics involved. It's for the best of the sport. And this is crap. I mean, it really is crap. Is it fun to watch every year one team run over another? And is it, I hate to say it, we'd be having Alabama almost every year if we didn't have this format. If we had a different format, if we just played the bowl games and picked the national champion from their performances like we used to, would Alabama be getting it every year? Like they are now. Yeah. You think would they be getting it? They didn't before. I mean, previously, Southern Cal had a little stretch there where they won maybe 2 in a row, 3 in a row. Southern Cal did. Oklahoma had a run, of course, where they won all those games and they put a little streak together. But this is, if it weren't for Clemson, Alabama would have won like 5 or 6 in a row here. So. And with Bryce Young coming back next year and all those other players and all that talent, they'll be right back here again next year. I don't know. Maybe one day the television ratings will dictate a move back in the other direction.
If we could, real fast, Corn, I perked up with what you just said a moment ago.
You perked up?
Yeah, I did. You said you felt like a dinosaur saying it, but quite frankly, I don't think I'm familiar with it. What you were just saying about waiting till after the bowl season, that's intriguing to me. Would you just set up 2 teams for a national championship based upon results from bowls, or would you create a 4-team playoff or some kind of playoff based upon the 4 best teams or whatever?
No, I like the BCS. I mean, I thought the BCS, by and large, got the 2 best teams. Now, it had some flaws, of course. It always had some flaws. And, yeah, there was a year or so there where you had matchups that didn't make a lot of sense. A team was in there that maybe shouldn't have been in there. But I think that the way of doing it before, just voting for the national championship team coming off the bowl season usually got us the right team as the national champion. But I think what was great and has been great for college football has been the discussion and has been the arguments about it. But when you have the arguments and then you have this playoff and you put teams, you have 4 teams, when almost every year it's pretty true that only 2 teams are worthy because the playoffs are so one-sided. The semifinals are so one-sided. There's only 2 really good teams by the end of the year. Just look at the history. Can you make an argument otherwise to say by the time the semifinals are played, we don't the 2 best teams are meeting and they've pretty much beaten, they beat their competition into the ground in the semifinals.
Very true.
I mean, look at the
every
history.
year that Alabama and Clemson got together, they could have played immediately after the regular season, and they were going to be the best 2 teams. They didn't have to go through the semifinals to run into one another in the finals.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chris, what was the stat you just shared with us off air a moment ago, just to help Corn's point here about the semifinals?
Yeah, I just mentioned that a second ago. I think you were on the phone. Let me pull this back up. No, you're good. Let me pull up. Give me a second. I'll pull it back up.
It was a tweet about the lopsidedness of the semifinals. Yes. That only like 1 or 2 semifinal games have been decided by a small number of points, something like that.
If Alabama maintains, and they've just upped it to a 21-point lead, so let's assume that holds. It'll be the 11th time in the 15 semifinals decided by more than 17 points.
Yeah. Let's go to Andy in Columbia. Next up here on Sports Talk. Andy, welcome in tonight. Happy New Year to you. Thank you for joining us.
Happy New Year to you again, Corn.
Yes, sir.
And Happy New Year to you for the first time, Chris.
Hey, I've had 2 New Years. That's right. I get 2 New Years.
Yep. Yes, sir. Now, something I forgot to do last night, and no one even mentioned it, and I'm kind of surprised we didn't hear from him. But we got to shout out to Vern.
I'm waiting to hear from Vern. I think Vern. I think he's just overwhelmed with what he saw yesterday. I don't think he can bring the words to his mouth. He's just so overwhelmed with joy.
I pointed out last night he's probably our happiest caller and was hoping or happiest listener. I was hoping he would call in. Vern, if you're listening, give us a shout. Rub our noses in it.
He's the man who told us the whole time that this
did.
should have been going on.
He did.
And, he hit it out of the ballpark. So I just wanted to call back because I didn't mention him last night, and I felt he deserved a mention. And hopefully he'll call in and do some crowing, and he deserves to.
We'd love to hear from him.
You gentlemen have yourself a wonderful New Year. And just one thing. The thing I like about what's going on now with the CFP, if we didn't have these 2 other games, we'd have the championship game being played for teams that haven't played for 5 to 7 week average, maybe. That's terrible football. At least they're playing a game now, and we're going to see another game in a week, less than 2 weeks, a week and a half.
Why don't we go back to New Year's Day? Let's make New Year's Day great again. Talk about making America great again. Let's make New Year's Day college football great again. Let's put the sugar, the rose, the orange, the fiesta. Let's put them all back on New Year's Day together. Have a great college football celebration of New Year's Day, and then let's take the 2 best teams from those 4 winners there, or 5. Remember, throw the Cotton Bowl in there as well. Find the 2 best teams and have those 2 teams meet 10 days later for the national championship.
Right, and that way, like I just said, you don't have rusty teams playing teams that haven't played for a month or a month and a half.
Yeah.
And you have teams that, have played a game, and now you're going to see a good quality game. The only thing that might hurt it could be an injury, but you're going to have an injury. You could have an injury in the CFP thing too. I like what you're saying, Corn. Go for the bowls, because then you're bringing the bowls back in the light. Who cares about the Rose Bowl? I mean, can you tell me who's playing
I'm
in
glad
the
you
Rose
brought
Bowl
that
this
up.
year?
I'm glad you brought that up because it is. I mean, Ohio State should be ashamed of itself. The players have opted out. We're talking about the Rose Bowl. We're talking about your Ohio State. You're repping the big, whatever they call themselves, the Big Ten with 14 teams. But, I mean, you're repping – it's the greatest bowl game of all. And guys just quit, just walked out, just I'm not playing in the Rose – I don't care to play in the Rose Bowl. Are you kidding me? I mean, seriously. That, to me, is the greatest insult. And, see, here's what I think. Here's my plan. Here's the Corn plan to fix it all. So now that we have professional athletes playing college football, of course, they've been signing contracts. Scholarships are contracts. They have to sign a document. It's a signed contract. Let's put words in the contract now, colleges, that say this contract binds you to play in every game our team will play in as long as you are healthy and able to play. Otherwise, if you, quote, opt out, walk out, whatever you want to call it, then you must refund to us a certain percentage of your scholarship money. Because they should be a professional football. An NFL player can't just walk off on his team. I mean, he can, but he'll either be fined or cut and be out of a job. Okay. Well, it's time we started treating these professional college athletes the same way now. You want to be paid and you want to be treated like professionals? Let's act like professionals. Opting out on your team because you're not in the playoffs is not professional. Okay. It's amateur. That's what you're going back to. So you can't have it both ways, people. You really can't. So let's have some words. Let's have some verbiage in the scholarship, the letter of intent. That's a contract that makes the players play in all the games or face some consequences. And this BS of sitting out to begin my preparation for the NFL draft. Come on. Are you serious? I mean, that is just just be truthful. For once in your life, tell the truth. This game is not big enough for me to play in because it's not a playoff game. Yeah, I saw him up in the booth last night. I wanted to throw up.
What was he preparing with headsets on, listening to the play calls?
And I mean, I respect the heck out of that guy. I voted for him second in the Heisman because I thought he was a great player, had a great year, and helped his team win a league championship. And then he goes and does some punk thing like that. And that's totally amateurish. And you want to be considered professionals. Give me a break.
Well, the worst thing though is, fellas, is the program allows them to do that.
That's what I'm saying.
Just like what you said yesterday, that Beamer told the guys not to come who opted out. But, there was Deebo Samuels, a few years back. So you hit it right on the nose. And one last thing with this UCLA thing, do you think they ever would have not played if their fans and their team would have had to travel somewhere? I mean, there was no travel involved. You're playing in San Diego. Your fan base isn't going anywhere. They're not traveling. Do you think if they would have traveled across country that they would have pulled this BS?
So here again, I don't know, but they should have been made to play. They should have been made to play. But there is no leadership in college sports. There's none. Where is the NCAA when all this is going on? Nowhere to be found or heard or seen. And college commissioners are the same way. Where are they? Where's the commissioner of the Pac-12? Big Hollywood, guru that he was or is or whatever. Where is he? Where's the university president? There's no leadership in any form when it comes to this sort of stuff. And they should have been made to play that football game. They had enough scholarship players. So you got to move some people around. You got to move a linebacker to play a defensive tackle spot or something like that. Okay, I get it. You're out of position. Tough. Do a better job of staying healthy and away from COVID, if that's what your issue was. I have no sympathy for these people anymore. None. Okay, this is what you get. You want to be professionals? Let's be professional. Hey, we got to run, Andy. Thank you very much.
Y'all have a great holiday.
Yeah, you too, my man. Have a happy holiday. 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number here on Sports Talk. 27-6. Alabama with 6:20 to go, and Crimson ties up to 447 yards, doubling Cincinnati, which is at 207 yards. Cincinnati is trying to put together a little bit of a drive, but they just had another sack, so they can't block Alabama. Just can't block them. Yeah, we'll be back.
Touchstone Energy cooperative members save more on electricity, and members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through Co-op Connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives, and as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
Parents ask, what's the best way to save for college? I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus, and my answer is always open a Future Scholar 529 college savings account. It's easy. You can get started online with any amount. It's flexible to adapt to your child's college dreams. And you can deduct 100% of your contributions from the South Carolina state tax return. So what are you waiting for? Go to futurescholar.com and see why it's the smart, easy way to save for college. futurescholar.com.
Save like a pro with Founders Federal Credit Union. Founders Loyalty Select account gives you the opportunity to grow your savings at our best rate yet. Fund your account through your favorite Loyalty Select product to get savings today. Not a member yet? Visit relaxjoinfounders.com or one of our more than 30 office locations to see if you qualify for membership. Services require credit evaluation. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
Today is a day of celebration, also a day of sadness. We lost a great high school baseball coach in our state, Don Cribb, from my hometown of Latta. He's actually a native of Johnsonville. Marvelous, marvelous baseball coach. Had a bout with cancer that was very swift, unfortunately, very swift. Passed away this morning, beloved by the Latta community, Erskine graduate, loved by his many, many friends and, of course, family, and the baseball world across South Carolina thought the world of him. So very sorry to hear about his passing. And then the great Clemson Tiger, one of the greatest of all times, Fred Cohn, passed away at the age of 95. He was something else. Played for the Green Bay Packers, got all the honors you could ever think of in our state, both from Clemson and from the state. I think even when he was in his early 90s, he was shooting his age on the golf course, if not better.
Wow.
You know,
Didn't Frank Howard say he was the best player he ever coached?
Sure did.
Yep.
Sure did. He was fantastic. Betty White passed away. Sam Jones, the former Celtics great, passed away. But some good news. Our good buddy from the Big Spur, John Whittle, out of the hospital, heading home after a bout with COVID. I think everybody knows that he was going through that and recovering and doing well. He's appreciative to everybody he put on Twitter, appreciative to everybody who reached out to him and thanked him or thought about him. Should also mention, I don't think we have, but earlier, might have been the end of last week. Let's see. Right after Christmas, legendary football coach Bill Pate passed away at the age of 88. Longtime coach at Lakeview High School. Football, baseball, coached at York. Graduate of Lamar and Clemson back in 1956. He graduated from Clemson. 187 games he won over 33 years, 4 state championships, 13 years at Lakeview. He won championships in 70, 71, and 81. He coached at York and Timmonsville and the North-South game back then in 78 and the Shrine Bowl in 82. He was a football and baseball assistant at Clemson in 1969. Didn't realize that. And he coached Timmonsville's American Legion baseball team to state championships in 67 and 68 and finished third in the World Series. He's in the South Carolina Athletic Coaches Association Hall of Fame and the South Carolina Football Coaches Hall of Fame. So I didn't know him personally, but he did coach back in my day against Latta when I was a little nothing of a player. But I can remember his Lakeview baseball teams, man. They could pound the baseball, steal a base. They were really, really good teams. And his football teams were always tough and well prepared and well coached. So these are the kind of things that we hate to talk about. Not the Whittle thing, but the other things we hate to talk about. But we need to share that with you. By the way, our poll question of the week is over. Had to do with the bowl games. Let's see who were the smartest. USC wins. Let's see, both win. Only 16% of our 488 voters said both would win. 53.5% picked Clemson to win, the Gamecocks to lose, and 18.9% picked the Gamecocks to win and Clemson to lose. 11.7% picked both to lose, which leads us to our next question. 22. What do we see here? I was looking at the Gamecock schedule last night, so I'm upping the ante. I see 8 possible wins. I see potential 8. They're going to be much better, of course, probably with Spencer Rattler at quarterback. And the tight end is coming in, and they'll pick up a receiver or 2 out of the portal that will help. How about a Marion Brown? That kind of went overlooked yesterday. A Marion Brown, who had done very little for them after transferring from Georgia Tech, made a major contribution to them. Maybe that's a sign he's stepping up. If Josh Vann does come back, that'll certainly help at wide receiver. They do lose, of course, Kevin Harris is gone. So Quandre White, they lose their top 2 running backs. But Marshawn Lloyd will get the chance to display his gifts. And I got to believe that given the opportunity to carry the ball, and you know what? I hope they land on a running back who can carry it 30 times like Harris did. I like that. I like a running back who can carry it 30 times. And it's like Alabama today. They've given the ball to Robinson. 26 times. He's got him 204 yards. He's averaging 7.8 per carry. You got a great one or a good one. Give him the football. Running backs get in that rhythm. So, of course, the bowl game didn't fix everything. They still have some areas of concern. But there's 4 wins on there automatically, I think, when you look at it. And then you got to pick out your other wins. They get Georgia at home. Beat Georgia. That'll be 5 wins. They get Tennessee at home. Beat Tennessee. That'll be 6 wins. You got to beat Texas A&M sometime. They get them at home. That'll be 7 wins. Then you got to find that 8th win somewhere out there.
And there are 2 interesting games on their field. One really, really early in the season. They haven't had a lot of success out in Arkansas. But I think that's a potential winnable game on the second weekend of the year, first SEC game. And then, of course, got to start figuring out a way to beat Kentucky. You don't climb up the echelon in the SEC East if you're South Carolina until you can get past Kentucky and Missouri.
Yeah.
You got to find a way to start taking those guys out each and every year.
My 8th one would be Missouri at home.
Mm-hmm.
You got to go to Kentucky. And I think now I've given up on the idea that they're equal. I mean, Kentucky's ahead of them, obviously.
I would agree.
You're right. Beating Kentucky, you got to do that to be able to take that next step. That was something Spurrier was able to do as they climbed up in the East. Beat Kentucky. But now you got to beat Missouri at home, okay? You do what I just said, and look, what's Georgia going to have next year? They're going to lose – they're probably going to lose Daniel at quarterback. Whether or not Stetson comes back, or Stetson Bennett, whether or not he comes back, I mean, not that big a deal as I see it. I don't know off the top of my head. I don't know how much they're going to be hit on the offensive and defensive lines. You see that, Pat?
I've got it in front of me. Their left tackle, Jamari Salyer, looks like he'll be leaving. Justin Schaefer, who's their left guard, Their center is a redshirt freshman. Their right guard is a redshirt junior, Warren Erickson. So 50-50, he technically could come back. And then Warren McClendon, their right tackle, is a redshirt sophomore. So technically, he could leave, but most likely, I would think he'll be back. So they'll lose about half of their offensive line.
27-6, the final. So borderline bloodbath. I said bloodbath, man.
I think the score was actually closer. If you watch the game, Phil, I think you're right. I think the score was closer than the game actually was.
Yeah.
Alabama was never threatened by Cincinnati. I just hope, because I was an advocate to get Cincinnati in the G5 because I thought they earned the right to play. I just hope this doesn't change to, well, see, I told you. That's what happens when a G5 team gets in the playoffs. They've got no business. No one's beating this Alabama team right now, I don't think.
You think they win the national championship?
I do. I do.
27-6, the final. 482 yards for Bama, 218 for Cincinnati. I don't know, Chris. This might not be a good sign for future Power Fives. We'll be back.
By the way, before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. It's already 2022 in a lot of places around the world. Correspondent Rita Foley reports.
A lot of people are glad to see 2021 go. But in many places around the world, New Year's Eve celebrations were toned down or canceled because of the surging coronavirus. One of the first places to bring in the new year, New Zealand, with a low-key lights display highlighting Auckland's landmarks. Australia lit its traditional spectacular New Year's Eve fireworks display over Sydney. Despite an explosion in COVID cases, there were no plans for big festivities in Beijing because of COVID. I'm Rita Foley.
Thousands of anxious residents of Colorado are awaiting word on whether their homes were burned down in a furious wildfire that struck yesterday. Mountain View Police Chief Steve Davis, who is from the Louisville, Colorado area and owns a house there, tells KMGH Denver 7 he's never seen anything on the scale of the wind-driven wildfire that swept the Denver suburb.
I have seen wildland fires in the mountains when I worked for the sheriff's office and things like that, but not in my own backyard, so to speak. I've been to a lot of structure fires, but this is hundreds and hundreds of homes on fire in a short amount of time. I have never seen anything like this in the 43 years I've been doing this.
Authorities say 500 homes were probably destroyed. At least 7 people were injured, but there have been no immediate reports of any deaths or missing people. Actress Betty White, whose saucy Up for Anything charm made her a television mainstay for more than 60 years, has died. She was 99 years of age. She would have turned 100 on January 17th. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 59 points, the Nasdaq dropping 96, the S&P 500 lower by 12. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Trading involves financial risk and is not suitable for all investors. Past results do not guarantee future performance. By texting in, you agree to the terms available at VantagePointSoftware.com/disclaimer and consent to receive calls and text using automated technology or pre-recorded voice about offers or info by or on behalf of VantagePoint. Your consent is not a condition of purchase and can be revoked at any time. Message and data rates may apply.
Traders, listen up. With volatility, earnings data, and inflation concerns, it's almost impossible to guess what the markets will do next. With VantagePoint, you don't have to. Want to see how the smartest traders pick their stocks? Text the word money to 813-813 to learn how our technology analyzes over 1 million data points per day. Text the word money to 813-813 so you can learn how to predict market trends up to 3 days in advance with incredible accuracy. Whether you're trading stocks, options, Forex, futures, or crypto, VantagePoint's patented artificial intelligence can give you a massive edge. Text money to 813-813 to find out how to maximize your gains. Don't wait. Text the word money to 813-813 now.
Nearly 4 dozen reporters and media workers died on the job this past year.
The International Federation of Journalists says 45 reporters and staffers died in 2021. That's one of the lowest death tolls since the IFJ began publishing annual reports on journalist deaths in 1991. 65 deaths were recorded in 2020. The country that had the most deaths in 2021 was strife-torn Afghanistan. The IFJ says media staff are most often killed for exposing crime, corruption, or abuse of power in their communities, cities, or countries. I'm Mike Hempen.
Novavax filed data with the Food and Drug Administration to support clearance of its long-anticipated COVID-19 vaccine, which is a different kind of shot than current U.S. options. The vaccine proves safe and 90% effective against infection from earlier coronavirus variants. News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. A 30% chance of showers this evening as you celebrate New Year's Eve. The low dips to only 65. Tomorrow, a warm and breezy Saturday with a high of 79 and a mix of sun and clouds. Sunday is a total rain out with showers all day at a high of 72. No drinking and driving. Happy New Year. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather. WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point. Ooh, you shouldn't have pressed that button. Oh. Now you get this.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
We are back on Sports Talk Media Network here on New Year's Eve, and Happy New Year to everybody. Phil Kornblut, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. We are here for the next 55 minutes and counting it down to the big ball dropping in New York and I guess other places. Of course, it's already New Year's where? Australia? They're already ahead of us, right?
Oh, yeah. It's pretty much half the globe now. I mean, even Europe's only about 5 hours in front of us. So, yeah, it's pretty much everywhere but here now.
They're getting close. They're getting close. So, by the way, I meant to say at the very end of the top hour, we were talking about, and you bring up the good point with this loss, the way Cincinnati was handled by Alabama, hurt group of five. And I said at the very end, I meant to say group of five, not power five. So, yeah, I think that it just might in the minds of people because they would say, you know what they would say? I mean, just take your favorite power five team that had a good, Notre Dame, for example. But that goes back to what I said. A team like Cincinnati, which is very good, can go and beat a Notre Dame or maybe an Ohio State or maybe even upset an Alabama on a short week when they've only got 3 days or so to prepare for them. Mm-hmm. But you give the Power 5 team a month to get ready for you, and then you have a coach as great as Saban, you're not going to beat them. You don't have the talent. You just don't have the overall skill. You might have a great quarterback who can run. You might have a speedy receiver. In the case of Cincinnati, people were talking about how great their corners were and how they could cover Alabama, They didn't have it up front, though, to be able to block Alabama or stop their running game. And that was what Saban looked at it, and he said, you know what? We're too big. We're too strong up front. Let's line up and run the football and run it. And then you defensive guys, you stop that quarterback, you shut them down, and that'll be the formula. And that's what they did.
Yeah, and he doesn't mind winning games, 27-6. He doesn't. Nick Saban's one of the few coaches that doesn't go in for style points, and that's why I was so impressed with what South Carolina did yesterday, Phil, against North Carolina, was their ability to basically line up and run the football right at the Tar Heels and over 300 yards. And listening to Mac Brown in his postgame yesterday, he said their game plan 100% was to stop the run of South Carolina, and he joked, yeah, obviously we didn't do that, and so when you're good up front, it can cover up a lot of ills. Not that Alabama has any warts on that team. But, yeah, that's the one area that a group of five team, whether it be Cincinnati, Coastal Carolina, whomever, that's where they're going to struggle against Power 5 opponents is just the size, strength, and speed along the front lines, both offensive and defensive.
So this may be a little out of left field, and I started to ask you guys off air, but wanted to get your on-air immediate response. After that game, and first of all, it was impressive by Shane Beamer and his staff. All the credit goes to the Gamecocks. But 2022 season, Do you think we're going to hear Mac Brown's name on the hot seat? Second straight year having his team ranked top 5 in the country, projected as a potential ACC champ, college football playoff a team, and then to fall flat on their face for the second time in a row. Just curious if there's any chatter up in Chapel Hill.
Well, I think you'll have some grumbling. They got fans, of course, on their message boards who are grumbling as it is now. I don't know. Mac is so beloved by the national media. I don't know that anybody will have the chutzpah to try to call him out and say, Mac Brown's got to go, even though they might have been this year the single most underperforming team. To finish with 6 wins and 7 losses, with that talent, with that quarterback, that running back, that receiver, and others, and not fixing the defense. The defense was horrid from the beginning, never fixed it. It was a pitiful coaching job by Mac Brown and his staff, no question about it. Will people start getting on top of him, and calling for his head? He's got a lot of friends in the media from his ESPN days, and he is a lovable, likable guy. I'm not so sure that, and even at, you're Chapel Hill, where if you have a nice football season, that's great, but don't get in the way of basketball.
I was just about to say the same thing. Hubert Davis may lose his job before Mac Brown does.
Yeah, there's more pressure on Hubert Davis, don't you think?
Oh, without a doubt, especially after that 30-point drubbing they took at the hands of Kentucky a couple of weeks ago. They're not playing all that well. The good teams that they have faced, with the exception of Michigan this year, they have played extremely poorly, and he doesn't get that turned around. The honeymoon period for Hubert Davis is going to be considerably shorter than the second honeymoon period for Mac Brown. There's no question.
And guys, one last thing to add, just taking away from that just drubbing that the Gamecocks gave the Tar Heels. What a fantastic hire by Shane Beamer last year when he chose Clayton White instead of Jay Bateman. And now we saw Clayton White, the defensive coordinator this year for the Gamecocks. He was a finalist for best coordinator in the country. Meanwhile, Jay Bateman, I think it's reasonable to assume he may be looking for a job here in the next few days.
And Jay Bateman was a pretty highly regarded guy. But he has not done a good job, where it wasn't a good job this year at North Carolina, because their defense was really bad. That was the one thing I thought South Carolina could do yesterday, and that was have a pretty good day offensively. I never imagined over 500 yards. I wasn't even thinking about that. So the Gamecocks, now that the season is over, and they posted the numbers they posted yesterday, I thought I would take a look at some of their final stats here that have been compiled and have come out. And the Gamecocks ended up averaging 22.6 points per game. Okay, so that's still not good. They ended up averaging 136 rushing yards per game. Let me back up. They ended up averaging on offense 22.6. That's not good. They averaged 24 points per game allowed. That's not bad. You're allowing 24 points. Maybe you'd like to cut another touchdown off of that to where you've got yourself a really, really good defense. But 24 is not bad. Then they averaged rushing 136 yards per game, giving up 175. They averaged 201 yards through the air, giving up 181. Total offense, they averaged 337 in round numbers, and they gave up 356 yards per game. So obviously the big game yesterday helped, but the numbers still, Chris, overall offensively on the season, pretty putrid.
Well, there's no question. And considering everything that they had to try and piecemeal together, especially at the quarterback position, what was it Smitty said yesterday? 4th quarterback to win a game for them this year. Is that correct? Is that what I heard him say? And after you mentioned it yesterday, I was like, wow, that is right. You go back to Luke Doty and Zeb Nolan, and then you get up to Kerryon Joyner yesterday. But yeah, they've got to improve on offense. There's no question. Yesterday, you hope is a springboard for them going into the to spring practice. And once Spencer Rattler gets on campus, all right, what's he going to bring to the table? How unique, how creative can they be? And I think one of the guys that is going to be a key cog for them next year is that Swiss Army knife they have in Jaheim Bell. I mean, as good as he was yesterday, I don't think they utilize him enough. I think they featured him yesterday like they should moving forward, because that young man is quick. He can catch, he can block, he can run. I mean, he's got everything you want in sort of that hybrid tight end position.
Here's one area they got to get better in. They were 49% on red zone touchdowns, 41 trips into the red zone, only 20 touchdowns. I mean, you cannot be under – you got to have a great year. You got to be 75% touchdown-wise in the red zone. to have that great year. You can't be 49%, 20 of 41. That's kicking too many field goals. That's leaving too many points. I bet you when Beamer breaks it down, when he starts talking about this season and he looks at things, he'll be like, yeah, that's got to be an area they've got to improve. Jalen Foster ended up having a great year as a safety, 96 tackles to lead the team, 5 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, intercepted 5 passes, broke up 3 others, had a quarterback hurry, and he forced 2 fumbles. How good was he all season long?
Terrific. And they've had some great players on defense this past year. And I think that's one area that, Phil, quite frankly, especially the secondary, even yesterday, as depleted as they were in the secondary, they did such a terrific job with that unit all season long. Because when we sat here, in August and July of this past year and talked about, all right, where are the Gamecocks going to maybe find some wins? Well, they're going to be able to run the football behind that offensive line that produced the SEC's leading rusher. Well, they didn't run it anywhere close to as well up until yesterday. And that secondary, boy, that's going to be an issue. And they've got to be able to get pressure. And, boy, I think the secondary may have been the most improved unit on that team.
Yeah. I have to eat some crow because I remember during the season I had some criticism for Zach Pickens and Jordan Birch. And they both ended up having pretty solid years. Pickens with 38 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, 1 pass broken up, 2 quarterback hurries, and a fumble recovery, playing right in the middle of the defensive line. Those are pretty good numbers, 4 sacks from right in the middle. And then Birch, who had a good game yesterday, he was really good. 26 tackles on the season, 2.5 tackles for loss, a sack. He should be the next J.J. Inabare for them, I would say. I would say he could step in and be that guy. He and Jordan Strong should give them 2 edge rushers there who are very, very good.
And I wonder with Mbare not playing yesterday and already declaring for the NFL draft, how much that may have helped him. Getting some extra playing time during bowl preparation and getting ready and maybe stepping into that role and realizing I've got to finally step up my game. And that defensive front played – that entire defensive unit yesterday I thought was outstanding.
Yeah, they played great. They played with a lot of passion, a lot of effort. And, again, you go back here and you look at some of the individual offensive numbers. And, part of the problem for them, outside of Josh Vann, they didn't have anybody who had on offense a career kind of year. They had, let's see, you had, of course, the quarterbacking was spread among. You had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different players throw a pass in a game for South Carolina this year. Now, that includes Kai Kroger, who was 1 for 1 for 44 yards and a touchdown. Jordan Birch, who threw an interception on his 1 pass attempt. Josh Vann was 1 for 1 for 6 yards. Zaquandre White was 0 for 1. I mean, they tried. Colton Gauthier threw 1 pass. He completed it for 19 yards. But, Doty was 60%, 975, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Brown was 55.6%, 721, 8 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Nolan was at 55.8%, 690 yards, 7 touchdowns, just 1 interception for him. Joyner was 9 for 9 on the year, 160 yards, a touchdown, no picks. Rushing the ball, Harris ended up as the leading rusher, 659 yards on only 152 carries. So he averaged 4.3 yards per carry. Zaquandre White had 583 yards on 88 carries. He averaged 6.6 yards per carry. He really could have helped himself. Imagine if White had put himself in that ball game yesterday. Of course, then again, I don't know, with 2 of them splitting it, maybe neither one would have had a super game the way that Harris did. And then Vann, who stepped up and had his best year, 43 catches, 679 yards. He averaged almost 16 yards a catch, 5 touchdowns, but I think he was dealing with a hamstring, and I guess that affected him yesterday because he had nothing yesterday.
No, he really didn't. And they were talking about him in the pregame and what they would get from him. And I think it was a situation where they just didn't have enough depth, out there. He had to go play. But, yeah, they didn't need him because Jaheim Bell was extremely good in that running attack. They really didn't have to throw it yesterday because they could run it whenever they wanted to.
Yeah. I want to see something here. This would make for a great it does make for a great stat. How about this? This might be And this is what Steve Fink should look up. So, Kerryon Joyner this year might be the only football player in the country to throw for a touchdown pass, of course, which he did against North Carolina yesterday. All right, let me double check here. So he threw for a touchdown pass, and he caught a touchdown pass this season. So he threw for a pass. He caught for a pass.
He did not rush for one, though.
He did not rush for a touchdown, huh? Nope. Okay, that would have been nice had he rushed for a touchdown.
That would have been. I figured that's where you were headed.
And he made a tackle.
Now that would be.
He made a tackle. So he would have had touchdown passing, rushing, and receiving, and made a tackle on the season. But no rushing touchdown. But you could say, here's a guy that rushed the ball, threw the ball, caught the ball, and made a tackle. That's pretty cool.
That would be the other Swiss Army knife on that team, right?
Yeah, he really is. He really is. All right, let's hit our break. And when we come back, we'll hear from Kerryon Joyner from yesterday. We didn't get to all the stuff from yesterday. So we'll get to some of his comments after what was a terrific game for him. Some of the video of him afterwards on the field, he was very emotional about getting the chance to play quarterback again. Probably something he thought he'd never get the chance to do in a big-time situation. And he went out and performed extremely well. We'll be back with that and more here on Sports Talk.
Founders is offering a low-rate mortgage with up to $4,000 in closing costs to full-time hospital employees, honoring your frontline efforts against COVID-19. With no PMI, no origination fee, and no limit on the loan amount, you can't go wrong. Visit founders.com/HEC and apply for your hospital employee choice mortgage today. Membership qualification required. Terms and conditions apply. Institution NMLS identifier number 410646. Founders is an equal housing lender and is federally insured by the NCUA.
I learned that people are just looking for somebody to listen to them. You can't just start cutting somebody's hair and you're going to be quiet the whole time because you're not going to be in business long.
The South Carolina Education Lottery has provided over $800 million to help students attend technical colleges across our state, investing in a new generation of entrepreneurs, just like James. Your passion is our purpose.
Touchstone Energy cooperative members save more on electricity, and members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through Co-op Connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives, and as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
All right, Alabama has moved on to the national championship, beating Cincinnati 27-6. Will it be Georgia or will it be Michigan to face the Crimson Tide in Indianapolis for the national championship, which will be, a week from Monday, I think it is?
Correct.
All right. South Carolina kind of feels like they won the national championship based on their reaction. My God. Great win. They're enjoying the heck out of it all over social media. Loving each other, praising each other, patting each other on the back. That's what you do when you win, right? It's like Dabo Swinney's always said, and I'm sure Shane Beamer has said it too, and we'll say it. The fun is in the winning. We win, we dance. We win, we party, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the big reasons the Gamecocks won yesterday, the play of Kerryon Joyner, as you know, outstanding playing quarterback, and did a great job running the offense, did a great job throwing the football, was perfect through the air, throwing the football, was named the game's most valuable player, really, really got it done in a big way for the Gamecocks, and raises the question, what will he be next year? Will he be in the quarterback mix? Will he go back to playing receiver, trying to fine-tune his skills there and get himself in a position to help the Gamecocks in a big way? I mean, they need, assuming Josh Vann does come back, they need some other people to step up at wide receiver. They got to have some more people step up at wide receiver, whether it's Joyner or Xavier Legette or somebody else. Maybe Omega Blake steps in and becomes an excellent receiver for them if that's where they end up playing him. So the Kerryon Joyner has got a future in some way. Helping. What is the problem? I'm sitting here stalling, waiting. What is the problem?
The problem is you want me to play a video of his audio from YouTube, but there's going to be commercials.
Okay, like when?
I needed more notice to get this prepared than the 37 seconds I received.
Okay, so is it ready now?
No, we're going to need to hold this to the next break. Unless you want to have commercials pop up, we could do that if you like.
Wait, I could sing the Google jingle because that's going to be one of the two that pops up for sure.
Could be fun. Yeah, we could almost turn it into a little game.
I was hoping to go out on a perfect show. I was hoping to end the new year on a perfect show. Perfection not achieved. I will mention one recruiting note since we got to wait. Clemson offered a 2022 wide receiver today, Cole Turner of Vestavia Hills, Alabama. I'm pretty sure that's Nolan Turner's brother there in Alabama. Pretty sure. Maybe I'm 100% sure. And he's a receiver, and Clemson's offered him. And that happened today. So we'll get back into recruiting heavily next week as the world gets back into recruiting heavily next week for the most part.
Joe.
Though I wonder if some coaches might be taking a look. I mean, these coaches haven't really had a holiday. They had to work through Christmas and they'll celebrate New Year's. But I mean, as far as getting away with their families and kind of exhaling a little bit, they really haven't had a chance. Maybe they're going to do that for a few days.
What did Kirby Smart say? If you're not recruiting every day, probably need to go look for some other job or something else to do.
I would agree. So, another offer went out by Clemson today. Kamari Terrell out of Killeen, Texas, tweeted out an offer from Clemson today. He is 6'1", 180 in the 22 class. So Clemson is sending out offers to guys here in the 22 class. Still looking for players to add for 2022. Not yet. I mean, these aren't for 23 and down the road. These are for the 2022 class. So Kamari Terrell, could be Terrell, 6'1", 180 out of Killeen, Texas, tweeting out an offer from Clemson today. You know anything about him, Chris?
I do not. Yeah. Philip, I will effort to be better on recruiting. That'll be my New Year's resolution. I will try and be more Phil Kornblut-like in 2022 with regards to recruiting.
No, don't hurt yourself. Don't hurt yourself. I think I'm right when I say that Cole Turner is Nolan Turner's brother here. Let's see. Looking at what TigerNet has written. Yeah, he is the brother of safety Nolan Turner. So, of course, his dad, Nolan Turner's dad, close friends with Dabo Swinney from their days at Alabama. And, his story. What was his name? He passed away, had Lou Gehrig's disease. He was a player at Alabama. I think he played in the NFL as well. Very close with Dabo. And, Cole Turner might turn out to be a great player. He's not going to be anyone that's going to help Clemson in terms of the ratings, I don't think. But everybody thought that when he took Nolan Turner, it was like, well, he's just doing that for the dad, just doing it for that. Nolan Turner turned out to be a heck of a player.
Yeah, no doubt.
Got the interception that beat Ohio State in the national semifinals. Turned out to be a really good player for them. So maybe this kid will be the same way. Who knows? You don't always have to recruit the five-star guys to win football games. Sometimes you take a talented player, maybe not as highly recognized, but he develops and you coach him up and he becomes a really good player and a big contributor for you.
Just occurred to me when you were mentioning about Dabo and his ties to Alabama, of course, having gone to school there. Do you believe he sat and watched and pulled for his alma mater today, or does he view it now because he's at one of the other major national powers? As the more wins and more national championships that Alabama locks up, it makes his job at Clemson a little more difficult?
I think he probably was rooting for the Crimson Tide. I think whenever they're not playing Alabama, he likes Alabama to do well, be my guess, And he and Nick Saban are close, of course. And why wouldn't he? He's got no dog in this fight this time around as far as the playoffs are concerned.
And it's his school. I mean, I get that, but I was just looking at it from a strictly professional level. And, anytime Alabama or Georgia, especially in our area, were to win a national championship, I think that would make the job for Shane Beamer and Dabo Swinney just a touch more difficult than if, let's say, had Cincinnati upset Alabama today.
No, well, I mean, they're still going to recruit. Win or lose, they're still going to recruit at a very high level.
Right.
And win or lose, they're still going to be head and shoulders above South Carolina right now.
Sure. Clemson was a better example.
If you're Shane Beamer, you can't look, Dabo Swinney never worried about Alabama, Ohio State, and all the other Notre Dame coming back to them. His goal was to build Clemson to catch up and surpass them. And they did. Now, Shane Beamer's got to think the same way. He can't worry about Clemson or Georgia coming back to them. He's got to build and develop to catch up and surpass them. Be right back.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast, a 30% chance of showers this evening as you celebrate New Year's Eve. The low dips to only 65. Tomorrow, a warm and breezy Saturday with a high of 79 and a mix of sun and clouds. Sunday is a total rain out with showers all day at a high of 72. No drinking and driving. Happy New Year. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
Right now, we all might feel a little disconnected. For seniors living alone with smaller social circles, feelings of loneliness and isolation can feel overwhelming. But there's something we can all do to help. Connect with your older loved one virtually and have the conversation of a lifetime with StoryCorps Connect. Anyone can conduct an interview, and every interview will be archived at the Library of Congress, becoming part of American history. Connect, honor, share at StoryCorpsConnect.org/AARP. A message from AARP, StoryCorps, and the Ad Council.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting. After tough talk between Presidents Joe Biden and Vladimir Putin over the Russian troop buildup on the Ukraine border, both sides insist they are hopeful that a pathway to easing tensions could open during diplomatic talks set for January. But with less than 2 weeks ago, before senior U.S. and Russian officials are to meet in Geneva, the chasm is deep and the prospects of finding an exit to the crisis face no shortage of complications. Biden told reporters Friday that he advised Putin the upcoming talks could only work if the Russian leader, quote, de-escalated, not escalated the situation in the days ahead. On Wall Street, a down day to end the years. The Dow was dropping 59 points, the NASDAQ lower by 96, the S&P declined 12. More details at srnnews.com.
Are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Hi, this is Taylor Metz.
And this is Roger Metz, your host of Woods and Water, South Carolina.
The time around Christmas and New Year's is one of our favorites to get outside together. No schedule, no stress, just go see what's out there.
Crisp mornings and cold nights will make you catch your breath, but there are lots of companies that make clothes for that, so there's no excuse for staying inside.
We hope you'll take some time this holiday season to get out there and discover the outdoors and take someone with you to share the adventure.
We invite you to listen to Woods and Water, South Carolina in 2022 as we bring the outdoors to you every Saturday afternoon.
Right here on our home in the Midlands, 100.7 The Point.
Merry Christmas.
And Happy New Year.
Everyone knows that here at The Point, we are all about supporting local businesses. We are all about local, local, local. You cannot get more local than my friend Greg McCoy and his business, Simplified Mortgage Solutions. Fran Halloran here. If you're buying a home or you're looking to refinance your current home, you owe it to yourself to call Greg. He is the real deal. You can expect Greg to treat you like you are his only client. You can expect Greg to scour the market to find you the best rate available. You can expect Greg to charge you a fair price for his work and his service. Why would you deal with some national company headquartered in who knows where when you can do business with Greg? Need further persuasion? Okay, I didn't even mention the good Greg does in our community by supporting local charities like Blue Star Mothers and Camp Chemo. Come on. You need to call Greg. Online at simplifiedmortgagesc.com, or you can call Greg at 803-722-6044. That's 722-6044.
Hi, honey. Were you able to drop by Tree Pharmacy today to pick up Mom's medications?
Yes, she sure is on a lot of meds.
I know. That's why I go over so often to help make sure she's taking them correctly.
Well, I have great news. The pharmacist at True Pharmacy said he can pre-pack her medications into individual doses.
Wow. Knowing she's taking the right meds at the right time will give me great peace of mind. But how much does it cost?
That's the even better part. It's free. Just another great service they offer at True Pharmacy. True Pharmacy, 2 locations, Charleston Highway in West Columbia and Divine Street downtown.
Hey, Tiger fans, 2022 Clemson baseball season tickets are currently on sale. Coach Monty Lee and your Clemson Tiger baseball team open the season on February 18th, and you can be there for every game by purchasing your season tickets. Home series include matchups against Miami, Florida State, NC State, Georgia Tech, as well as our annual home games against South Carolina and Georgia, and many more. So log on to ClemsonTigers.com to purchase your Clemson baseball tickets and come back home to Clemson.
Should mention those recruiting notes that I touched on. Brought to you by Seawells. Happy New Year from Seawells. Happy New Year to Seawells. They will be back in action next week. They've had an extended holiday break. I'm dying for some Seawells lunch buffet. Chris, you got to come into town and let me treat you to the Seawells lunch buffet.
Anytime. If I get a minute, maybe as we're busing by to head to Alabama on Tuesday, I'll get the entire team. Maybe we can swing Coastal basketball into Seawells for a mid-morning snack.
Well, I think that's a very good idea.
Yeah, it'll be right there about the time they're closing when we'll be coming by.
That's a very good idea. By the way, Coastal played very well last night. Big win over ULM.
They've got what Clark Kellogg likes to refer to as spurtability. It was a 36-36 ball game filled with about 2 minutes to go in the first half. Coastal closed the half on a 9-0 run, scored the game's next 14 points to begin the second half, and it was Katie barred the door after that, and they went by 30. And again, there was a tie ball game 18 minutes in. Got a good challenge tomorrow, the Raging Cajuns of Louisiana in town. And according to Cliff Ellis, the best big man Louisiana has, the best big man that Coastal will see all year. Saying something considering they've already run through the Gamecocks front line.
Yes, they have. Yes, they have. All right, here now is DeCarrion Joyner as we just sort of wrap things up from yesterday's win by South Carolina over North Carolina. One of the stars and the game MVP, DeCarrion Joyner, talking on a Zoom afterwards, taking questions from the media.
Aaron, just a little while ago, that photo that you just saw, just taking some time to reflect to yourself, you know, what's kind of just going through your mind right now, especially everything that you've kind of gone through here and even before you got here, everything in your personal life. You know, what does a moment like this mean, and what would you tell people out there that have gone through the ups and downs and, you know, are deciding to stick it out?
Yeah, for sure. It means everything to me, man. Right now, like I was saying, it still feels like a dream. I'm so thankful. I thank God for everything, man, for him just preparing me these last 4 years for this moment. You never question God. What I could say to the other people, never give up on your dreams. You know what I'm saying? If you ever got something out there that you want to get, or if you ever dreamed of, keep going. Never give up. Adversity is going to come, but it's how you overcome it. I'm just thankful, man. I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Important. DK, standing on that stage out there, you know, holding that MVP trophy, just how would you kind of put that moment into words, given the last 4 years, what you've gone through and everything, and just what does that feel like standing up there?
One word I can say is adversity, man. I went through so much adversity. I could have quit so many times. That's what Coach Step. If it wasn't for Coach Step, I probably would have stopped playing. Everything was just kind of not going my way. But I got a family that prays. You know what I'm saying? So I'm very thankful. I'm very grateful. That's all I can say, man. It feels like a dream, but got to keep going.
DC?
Hey, Carry on. Congratulations.
When did this plan to put you in a quarterback come about, and what did you first say when they came to you about it?
The first bowl practice we had, like early December, that was the first time I started repping with the ones. So we've been had it planned. After the first day, I told Coach Step, I was like, Coach, they're gonna have me this for the bowl game. He said, I don't think so. After the situation happened with Jason, I guess it was over with. Like I had to go to quarterback. So it's since the beginning of December.
Colin Taylor.
Aaron, you said if it wasn't for Coach Step, you might have stopped playing. Can you kind of expound on that a little bit and just how much has he meant to you throughout the last year or so?
Yeah, man, I went through so much adversity. Everybody knows my story. You know what I'm saying? Like, things just kind of weren't going my way. I was trying to figure out, like, my position and everything. I kind of was just trying to figure a lot out. You know what I'm saying? But I have a family that prays. But Coach Step came in, and every coach, he even told me, every coach told him just not great things about me in terms of, like, my athletic ability and the position what position I would play. But Coach didn't listen to it. He gave me an opportunity, but he's a lifesaver for me, man. I think Coach would say the same for him, that I am to him. You know what I'm saying? It's very mutual. I love him to death, man, and shout out to Coach Step.
Ben Briner.
Hey, DeCarian, what was that conversation with Coach Satterfield like when he was like, you're going to move to quarterback? And even coming into the game, did you think you'd end up taking as many snaps behind center as you ended up doing?
Yeah, Coach we never had a conversation about it. He just kind of put the personnel in and going into meetings. I seen my name on the script, and that was that. But I knew from the jump, whenever the last 2 weeks, we knew what we were going to do, keep teams on their toes. I knew I was going to play a lot of speed.
All right, to carry on Joyner, speaking to the media after the win yesterday in Charlotte. Got one more recruiting note that has just come down. Kristen Miller, defensive tackle from Ellenwood, Georgia. Clemson just offered him not too long ago, and he just put out a top 5 tonight, and Clemson did not make it. Ohio State, Georgia, Florida A&M, Oregon, and Miami are his 5.
Wow.
Those are his final 5. Clemson did not make it, and so they will go hunting elsewhere for another defensive tackle, if indeed they choose to. This is a case where they got in late, and the power of Clemson was not strong enough to, they kind of feel like they can offer somebody late, even a big-time player, like they did with Antonio Williams, and somehow get in there and win the recruiting battle, but not the case here. It's a guy that's been pretty strongly ingrained with the Georgia Bulldogs, I would say. So Ohio State, Georgia, Florida A&M, Oregon, and Miami. So Clemson's new defensive coordinator, Wes Goodwin, will not have the chance to coach him. But he did do a good job coaching up his players the other night. First time under the real hot spotlight of calling defensive plays and being the man on the sideline, replacing the man, Brent Venables. And after the game, before he got on the bus to leave, a group of us were able to catch up with him to get his thoughts about working that first game as Clemson's defensive coordinator, how it felt and how he felt he did.
I guess what was the whole process like calling plays out here for the first time? How do you think all that went?
I thought it was great. I mean, I thought it went as well as it could, being first time, not like we had scrimmages and stuff to get in the flow of things as a staff, me being inserted into the play caller role. But pleased from an overall game operation standpoint, no substitution penalties. Communication was great all night between all of us on the headsets and sidelines. So I thought it went really well.
With the linebackers, I think Trenton didn't play much in the first half. Was there any injury or anything with him, or was it just subbing guys?
Yeah, just substitution, playing different packages and stuff. And, hated Skowski and Spector were out, obviously out and stuff. But all those guys, took advantage of the opportunity and played at a really high level and executed the game plan well.
I was going to say, how do you think those young guys played? I mean, I know Jeremiah and Baird, a couple of true freshmen, were playing a lot out there.
Yeah, I thought it was unbelievable. All those guys are really talented. They've put in a lot of work the past few weeks and, understood the game plan. And I thought they all played at a very high level.
Obviously, one game doesn't make or break anything, but to go into the offseason with this momentum from the night, kind of get your first one out of the way, how good does that feel to kind of have that performance?
Yeah, definitely. Finished with 10 wins, 10-win seasons in a row. That's unbelievable. Huge accomplishment for our program and stuff. And obviously, the turnover and stuff staff-wise, creating some momentum for us going into the offseason, going into recruiting, and it was really good.
You kind of knew it was going to come down to a last defensive stop for you guys. What were you kind of thinking about what you were going to expect to see from Iowa State and what you were going to do with your defense?
Yeah, you study what they do 2-minute wise, and they did exactly what we had game planned for, and our guys executed what our plan was, and that's the mindset that you have to have in those situations. Hey, we're going to go win the game on defense. And
what was your reaction when you saw Purdy fumble backwards after getting the first down?
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome. You knew as soon as they jumped on the ball that it was over with, because you saw it was well short of the first down marker. So, just excitement that we closed it out.
Mario was saying that the guys felt like everyone thought that the defense was going to drop off with Brent gone, and now and they really wanted to rally around you. Did you feel that from the players, and what did it mean for them to?
Yeah, I mean, it's been really special the past 4 weeks, or ever how long it's been. Just former players at Clemson, former players I've worked with along the way, reaching out, and then obviously the buy-in from our players. Man, it's been tremendous. Clemson defense is about players. The players in that locker room, they played great defense long before I've been at Clemson. They'll play great defense well past my time here. So as long as we continue to recruit at a high level, bring in great talent, great young men of character, and develop them, from Coach Swinney's vision for the program, and just a total all-in commitment from those guys, we'll continue to play great defense.
No truer statement's ever been said. It's about the players. Get great players, you can be great coaches. By the way, if you were listening earlier when I said that Georgia quarterback Stetson Bennett's one of the great quarterbacks in the country and can probably beat any team that he lines up against, I'm waiting for some comeback there. He is off to a 3-for-3 start, 58 yards, and he's got Georgia down inside the 15-yard line. So they've got a drive here on their opening possession, and he's looked very sharp throwing the football from the get. Will it continue?
Well, and doing exactly what South Carolina did to North Carolina yesterday, coming out with, I'm not sure, the game plan that Michigan scripted. They were expecting to get a steady dose of Zamir White in that backfield, and Stetson Bennett said, fine, you want to take away the run? Let me move it down the field through the air. Worked so far.
Dogs have it 3rd and 1 on the Michigan 11. They've called a timeout to talk things over. When we come back, the South Carolina women, we haven't touched on this, they lost last night at Missouri. First loss of the season. We'll hear from Dawn Staley.
COVID-19 booster shots are now available for all South Carolinians 16 and older. Increase your protection from COVID-19 by getting your booster shot. Learn more at scdheck.gov/COVID-19 booster. Keep fighting the spread. Wear your face mask. Stay 6 feet apart. And get vaccinated. Join us and fight the spread. Visit scdheck.gov/vaxfax.
Hey, folks, mortgage rates have dipped to their lowest levels in recent history. And with home values up in many areas, now may be the perfect time to refinance your home. Whether you're looking to lower your monthly payments, free up cash for home improvements, or just pay off your home faster, a quick call to the one and only Stuart Wingo of Ameris Bank could save you money. If you're looking for competitive rates and exceptional service, call Stuart Wingo. 803-319-1777. That's 803-319-1777. You will save money just like I have so many times over the years. You can also visit him, amerisbank.com/Stuart Wingo. Stuart Wingo, the man with the plan for all your mortgage needs.
Hi, I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus, and I've got a great gift idea that requires zero shopping, the gift of college savings. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 college savings plan makes it easy. Grandparents, friends, and family can all contribute to a Future Scholar account and know that they're providing a gift that will last a lifetime. If you're looking for the perfect gift this holiday season, look no further. Learn more about the smart, easy way to save and give this holiday season at futurescholar.com.
Well, the year not ending on a happy note for the USC women's basketball team, number one team in the country, until the polls come out next week, losing last night in overtime at Missouri, 70-69. Defensive breakdown at the end allowed a layup for Missouri to win the game with 0.1 second left. Gamecocks did get the ball inbounds to Boston, I think it was, but because it was 1/10 of a point, there was no way. The rules say you can't catch and shoot. The only way they could have scored would have been, I was thinking, well, of course, they can't get above the rim and tip it in, but throw it up and just bat it up in the air and hope that it goes in. About the only thing you could do in that case. So they end up losing to a bitter rival, Missouri, which is now 12-2. 1-0. The Gamecocks are 12-1, 0-1. By the way, Georgia has just scored a touchdown, so they go up. Here is Dawn Staley as she talked on a Zoom with the media after the game about the first loss of the season for the Gamecocks.
Curious what you thought of Aaliyah Boston's play tonight and how impactful she was in the second half.
I mean, when Aaliyah was able to be on the floor, she's impactful. But when she was saddled with a little foul trouble, we really take a hit. But I thought Camilla did a great job in her absence to score in the paint. But 28 minutes is, it's a lot of minutes, but it's not enough minutes for us to, survive in a game in which Missouri, did a great job at packing it in like they normally do, and we just didn't hit enough shots tonight. We didn't get enough stops.
Sorry. What'd you think on the final play from Missouri, and just kind of what'd you see on that?
Final play was I thought we did a good job at I think the first penetration, but then the second one, we weren't able to keep her in front, and she made a tough shot. She got a right-handed layup, and she made us pay for it.
From Chris, what happened you kind of addressed that on final play? How do you feel about Aaliyah's performance in the first half and the second half?
Aaliyah didn't play much in the first half, so in the second half she was able to play a little bit longer, had longer stretches of playing. And once that took place, she ended up with a double-double. Just couldn't get her enough touches in the paint or in around the paint.
Coach, from Michelle Vogel, what can your team learn from this?
Our team can learn. They listen to you the most in losses. The stat sheet, I told our players the stat sheet looked, very similar to games in which we won. And because we won, you tend to not look at the things that you didn't do well. We got to shoot the ball better. We got to play with better pace. We got to do a better job at getting our post players the ball, especially when they are as efficient as they are. We got to hit shots. Got to take good shots. Our defense has to be better because it's been better. But Missouri spread us out, and they made you guard. They made you guard the downhill drives. They spaced you out, made you guard the 3-point line, and then all the motion in between that.
From Chris Wellbaum, did you get the shot you wanted at the end of regulation?
At the end of regulation? Yeah. We wanted to take the last shot, and obviously we wanted Henny to make a play if she could make a play. But I thought she got a little bit too deep to make a play, and then she just didn't take a fluid shot. So it was one of the options, but she got too deep to take a good look at it.
Avery, did you have another question?
Yeah, sorry.
I think she kicked it out to Zaya as well. I think she kicked it out to Zaya. We probably wanted to go into Aaliyah off of that particular play.
Yeah, sorry. The last question from me, Coach. I know that in sports anything can happen, but were you surprised at all with how well Missouri played with 5 girls out tonight?
No, no. That's how they play. That's how they play. They played that style of play for years. They always give themselves a chance to win, when you consistently play that way.
All right, Dawn Staley following the Gamecocks' first loss of the season last night at Missouri. Now, because their game with Ole Miss has been postponed because of COVID, scheduled for Columbia this weekend, their next game will be on the road. I think it's LSU next week.
Kim Mulkey, Dawn Staley.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be fun.
Yes.
By the way, I have a question for both of you guys. That loss last night, first for USC in 44 games against unranked opponents. It was the longest active streak in Division I. So which was a bigger surprise to you yesterday? The way South Carolina football dominated North Carolina, or the Gamecocks losing at Missouri to an undermanned team that only had 8 players available?
Both are shocking.
Mm-hmm.
More shocking? That's a very good question. I'm going to say I'm more shocked by the Gamecock offense in the football game. Okay. Nobody saw that. 500 and something yards. To carry on Joyner at quarterback, Jaheim Bell with 2 bang big plays in the first quarter. No, to me I guess that's the bigger shock. How about you?
I've been sort of going back and forth. I actually think the ladies losing last night was a bigger surprise to me. Not that I anticipated anything close offensively from USC in football, but you're talking about a South Carolina team that has run through the top 15 like sliced butter, and then they go on the road and face a team that only had 8 players that they probably should have beaten by about 20, and they get beat. Now, again, Missouri, even though they were unranked, this is a pretty good team. Lost to Baylor by a point or 2. So they actually are a decent team. But I think the women losing last night was still a little bit bigger surprise to me than even what South Carolina football did. And that's not to take anything away from Shane Beamer's performance.
That game last night by the Gamecocks is going to do them so much good throughout the season, though. After that, Victoria Sexton scored their last basket with 3:35 remaining. Gamecocks went up 69-64. They didn't score again the rest of the game. Coach Staley's done such a tremendous job this season of spreading the wealth, kind of spreading the ball around. But last night, that kind of came back to bite him a little bit because those last 2 or 3 minutes, it looked like they were playing hot potato. Like nobody wanted to step up and be the person. Nobody wanted to be the one in charge to take that final shot. You had Boston at the end, like the very end, but those last 2 or 3 minutes, they looked a little discombobulated, and that should help them moving forward. But I'm with y'all. I'm with Corn. I think the Gamecocks out on the football field yesterday were far more surprising. That offensive explosion, I'm not sure any of us saw it coming. And did we mention to carry on Joyner at quarterback once leading up to this game?
Never even thought about it. Thought about it.
I will say this, though, from the women's side real quickly. There's so little parity in the women's game right now. That's also one of the reasons that I was stunned that USC went on the road and lost a game at Missouri.
I would say because they were down some personnel, Missouri, maybe that makes it more surprising. But Missouri's always given South Carolina trouble. And playing there, they had over 6,000 fans. And playing there. All right, so Georgia goes down and scores on their first possession. Very nice drive by the Bulldogs. 7 plays, 80 yards. 4 minutes and 11 seconds. Stetson Bennett was everything that I said he wasn't. He was great. He moved his team right down the field. So forget me. And don't pay any attention to what I said. He was 4 for 4, 67 yards and a touchdown. He's got a quarterback rating right now of 323.2.
Wow.
Michigan has the football right now, and they have a 1st and 10. No, I'm sorry. They had to punt. I think they punted.
They actually went for it on 4th down.
Is that what it was? Okay,
so
I'm trying
Georgia
to pick it up
takes over
here.
at its own 41.
Okay, there you go. Georgia's got it at their own 41. They had a little drive going, Michigan did, but it stalls out, and so they give it up to Georgia. Georgia's up 7-0. Please, Lord, don't give us a Georgia-Alabama national championship game again.
And guys, real quick, just to add to that, something to watch the rest of this game. Michigan starting defensive back who was All-American, All-Conference, Dax Hill. He did not travel with the team down for this game. He is out there, but both of those 2 long passing plays Georgia had on that opening drive, he was on the sidelines. So it looked almost like Kirby Smart knew, and when he's out of the game, they're attacking his backup.
All right. We wrap up the year quickly. Our 3 personal New Year's wishes as we wrap up the year. So for me, first of all, I wish everybody a happy new year, healthy new year, prosperous new year, peace on earth, please. That's number 1. Number 2, I wish all of us here at Sports Talk a great 2022. And number 3, the Green Bay Packers win the Super Bowl. Chris?
I'm going to go with common sense with regards to COVID and athletics. I'd love to see that. Number 2, I'd like to see the South Carolina High School League go back to what happened 2 years ago with regards to the playoffs. Let's cut around, guys. Let's go to top 2 in the region. And I'll let Pat have one before we hit the end of the show.
A Braves repeat in the World Series. The Panthers finally to just get out of mediocrity, and for no more game cancellations from COVID.
Oh, you got that done quickly. From all of us, including Matt Smith, Happy New Year, everybody. See you in 22.
Someone will be right with you.
The Point.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107.